Good evening, Utah fans, and welcome into the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show, live from the Eccles Football Building, and right here presented by Smith's. As always, low prices and market fresh. Listening to us live tonight on our flagship radio home, ESPN 700. Also tuning in tonight on the YouTube channel at University of Utah Athletics, and, of course, on Twitch as well. Great to have you in wherever you may be tonight. Boy, a lot to unpack and a lot to get to tonight. Another dominant Utah performance last weekend against the Cal Bears. Two interviews tonight. We've got Josh Nurse coming in, and big Hunter Thetford's going to come in. New tight end from SMU, and, of course, we will talk about the Washington Huskies. All that coming up on the Coaches Show tonight from here at the Eccles Football Building. We've changed venues tonight. If you're watching in on YouTube and watching in on Twitch, we're usually in Kyle's office. Tonight we've got some special guests that will be watching the show from here in the media room. So we brought it back down the hall tonight. Utah 7-1, Washington 5-3. Utah ranked 9th in the country, Washington unranked right now. So we'll get to all that on the preview coming up in just a bit, but we'd say hi to the head coach. How are you?
Doing good, Bill. How are you doing?
Good. You came in from the outside. It was it was more like a November day out there than an October day out there.
A little nippy, and some wind. So it was good though. Players handled it well.
That's good. So how has the last couple of days gone for you guys, and how's the focus heading toward Washington?
So far, so good. You know, we had film day yesterday and some conditioning and lifting, and today we're back on the field, and it was a good practice.
Well, that's good. You're coming off another dominant performance, Kyle. And you know, maybe in some ways the most dominant performance you guys have had, at least defensively, in the Pac-12 era. 83 yards of total offense. I know you pride yourself on defense and toughness, but boy, when you hold a team to double digits, not triple digits, that's really hard to fathom. And your first shutout in the Pac-12.
Yeah, a lot of good things going on defense. The guys are playing hard. We got a lot of good players. I mean, that's where it starts. We got talented guys. Coach Scally and his staff are doing a great job of scheming and getting them in position to be successful, and they're executing those schemes flawlessly right now.
So 83 yards of total offense. You hold them to 2 of 11 on third downs. You're holding them to 26 on the year, 18% over the last 4 games. Third straight single-digit scoring game for an opponent. Your offense was balanced, 242 through the air, 231 on the ground. 5 straight drives you score touchdowns on. So there's a lot to like right there. What did you like most coming out of that game?
Well, a lot of things. You know, first of all, the defensive performance overall, like we talked about. Offense, 0 turnovers. You know, after we had way too many the week before. We had 4 the week before, so we got that cleaned up and took care of the football. You mentioned those the first 4 drives. I think the average length was like 84 yards and 10 plays. You know, when you average all those 4 yards, the first one was 99 yards. So great to see the offense put those drives together. Finish in the red zone. We were 4 out of 5 in the red zone. The lone non-touchdown was towards the end of the game when we called off the dogs and opted for the field goal there instead of really opening things up. Otherwise, it would have been 5 for 5. But some good stuff there. Special teams were solid. You know, just overall good performance, but you know that's in the rearview mirror now. We got to move forward.
You've had good defenses here over the years. I know you've been asked, is this the best defense you've coached? And that's hard to do in real time. But when you talk about production you're getting from this defense, talent on the unit, it's got to be on the very short list, if not the best units that you've coached.
I would agree with that. Yeah, and it's and like I said, we've got impact players at all 3 levels, and that's what it's all about. I mean, it's about recruiting, and then once you get the guys here, developing them and getting them to buy into what you're doing, and getting some great leadership. And you know, we're checking all those boxes right now. We got a lot of good football ahead of us and tough games, but so far through 8 games, a lot of good things.
Nitpick for me for just a minute. Tell me an area where your team could be a little bit better defensively.
Taking away the ball. We had no takeaways in the game on Saturday night, and so that's not who we are. You know, we're typically setting our offense up 2 or 3 times in short field situations, and we need to get back to doing that.
All right, you know, so much talk about the defense, and rightfully so. They're one of the best units in the country, but you've been getting really good production from your offense this year. I think your defense has been so dominant in some ways, it's overshadowed how good your offense has been. When you hired Andy back, when you saw Zach come back and Tyler's back, and you know you've got this unit of guys coming back together, is this what you would hope for or expected out of this offense?
Exactly, and you know, they're doing so many good things. They're balanced, they're physical. taking care of the ball, possessing the ball. We have second in the nation in time of possession, which is really a team stat because our defense is getting off the field quick and 3 and outs, and our offense is having long drives. So we're snapping the ball, I think 14 times more per game than the opponent, which is a big advantage.
Yeah, you've talked about that. That's giving your guys rest. Your defensive unit might be as well rested. But on the other side of it, too, time of possession's a great stat, but it's only a great stat if you pay it off.
Sure.
And you guys have been paying it off. Possessing the football isn't so great if you possess it and kick a field goal or possess it and punt it away, but you guys have been paying off that possession.
We have. And when you look at time of possession, you look at points per minute. And right now we're just under 1 point per minute. We're possessing the ball like 37 minutes a game and scoring about 35. So that's not bad. If you're a point a minute with your possession and you're possessing the football, for lengthy periods of time, that's a pretty good stat.
Tell me what you like. I asked you what you like most about that defense right now. What have you liked most about the offense? What's really kind of getting you going on that offense and what you're getting out of your offense
I'd say 2 or 3 things, maybe 4. First of all, the play of Tyler. That's where it all starts. If you want to have a chance to win a championship, you've got to get great quarterback play, and we're getting that. I would say the way the offensive line has come together, and, because there was a lot of question marks going into the season. We lost 3 starters last year up front, and we had a lot of new faces. Those guys have really gelled and become a cohesive unit. The wide receivers, very proud of those guys. They're unselfish. They're team guys. They're disciplined. And, we're spreading the ball around. No one guy has a bunch of catches. We just spread it around and get everybody involved, and I think they're all bought into that. And then, of course, Zach Moss. He's one of the best backs in the country. And
where does that wide receiver mentality come from? Because generally we're saying, the old stereotype is wide receivers are kind of diva guys, and they like to get the ball thrown to them. And there's a lot of places where you'll go and a guy has 60 receptions, and then maybe the second leading receiver has 25 receptions or something like that. But as you mentioned, across the board, you guys have 23, 21, 15, 16. It's pretty well spread apart. But that message, is that from Guy Holliday? Is that from Andy Ludwig? Who's setting that tone in the room that let's spread this thing out a little bit?
Well, I think Guy and Andy for certain are 2 factors in it, but Damari Simpkins is really the leader of that room.
Yeah.
And he is the ultimate team guy, and he is a guy that everybody looks to in that room, and he's just preaching team and unselfishness and just doing whatever it takes to help the team, and he's doing a great job of that. Like I said, he's one of the few seniors. Him and Derek Vickers, I think, are only 2 seniors in the room, but Damari has been here a long time in this program and is very well respected.
Well, you're seeing it right now too. He's getting good production as well, and I'll say this, for all the high marks your defense is getting, and they're getting them nationally, you've moved up in just about every category offensively in the Pac-12. You guys were kind of down in that 6-7 range the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. You're now top 3, top 4 in just about every category across the board. Maybe save passing offense, but being number 1 in rushing offense will balance that passing offense and getting you that balance you want.
We're actually number 1 in pass efficiency offense, which is more important than pass offense.
Yeah.
And so when we are throwing the ball, we're extremely efficient. We're over 70% completion and over 10 yards per attempt. Our numbers are really good when you look at the efficiency of it all.
All right, let's take our first time out here on the Coaches Show tonight. We'll come back, pass out our weekly awards, talk a little bit about the Washington Huskies as well. They're the opponent coming up on Saturday. We'll also remind you, if you want to listen to our radio broadcast, myself, Scott Mitchell, Tom Hackett, while you sit in the comfort of your own living room, you can sync up our broadcast to your TV. Simply go to syncmygame.com. That's syncmygame.com to find out more. This is the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show, presented by Smith's from Learfield IMG College. welcome you back into the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show from here at the Eccles Football Building and presented by Smith's as always. Show tonight also being brought to you by our friends at Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light. At your tailgate, keep it crisp, Utah fans, and please drink responsibly. Washington coming up on Saturday. Our network pregame show begins at high noon Mountain Time with a 2 o'clock kickoff from Husky Stadium in Seattle. We'll get to Washington coming up in a minute. We've got to give out our weekly awards now. Our Player of the Week and then our Subway Sub of the Week. And if you want to take them in reverse order, I've got a pretty good idea of who your Subway Sub's going to be.
Who?
Jason Shelley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right on the money.
See, you and I have been doing these shows together long enough that I know his performance was terrific, Kyle. And for a guy that, again, when you're the backup quarterback, you don't get a lot of reps and snaps. And I know Andy had that package ready for him, but he came in, and that offense just hummed when Jason got in there.
It did. He played his role to the T, and Andy did a great job of orchestrating that, where he took a lot of the pocket movement and cue runs off of Tyler because he wasn't feeling 100%, and gave those to Jason. And when Jason came in, like I said, he gave us a spark and made a couple big first downs through a touchdown pass. Did some really good things. So he is hands down our Sub of the Week.
Yeah, he's going to be our Subway Sub of the Week. At Subway right now, if you buy the foot long of the day, you get chips, 2 cookies, and a 20-ounce drink for free. Tyler really gutted it out the other day, too. And you could see that he clearly wasn't 100%. So Jason coming in was a nice change of pace for you guys. But, talk a little bit about the toughness, if you could, of Tyler Huntley and what he did. Because he kind of told us after the game, I said, well, where do you think you were tonight, Tyler? He said, 70%.
Yeah.
And you look pretty good for 70%. But that's tough to be out there and play quarterback the way he does at 70%.
You're right. He's a tough guy. He's a warrior. And he just gutted it out because a lot of guys wouldn't have played. I'm going to tell you, most guys would not have played in that game had they been in his situation, and that really ignites the rest of the players. I mean, they respect that, and they see him coming out there and going when he's not 100%, and that inspires them.
He's been a captain now twice. He's a 2-time captain
Which
for
is
this
rare.
team.
Yep.
It's very rare. Generally, it's an honor reserved for seniors. He got it as a junior, was a quarterback, but I think this year we're beginning to see some of the reasons why the players, and he is really the unquestioned leader of that offense.
Without a doubt, the unquestioned leader of the football team, in my opinion. He's, every team has that one guy that people look to, and he's that guy this year.
All right, so that's our Subway Sub of the Week. A little tougher decision might be our Player of the Week, our overall team Player of the Week, brought to us by University of Utah Healthcare and Sports Medicine. I know you gave the game ball to the defense as a whole, but we got to find an individual to give this to.
Well, if we can't go with the entire defense, because anytime you pitch a shutout, that's that's some good stuff going on. So we'll assume that that's not allowable. So we're going to go with Zach Moss, who rushed for 117 yards and another 90 yards in receptions, and just was terrific for us. And in fact, he was the Reese's Senior Bowl Offensive Player of the Week this week in the nation. And so we're going to give the game ball and the Player of the Game to Zach Moss.
Zach not
broke
only
the touchdown record too.
Yeah, he did. He broke the touchdown and the 100-yard rushing games.
Yeah, so
he got his 15th.
Racking up the records.
We didn't see him a lot in the pass game early, but the last couple of weeks, I think he had 2 catches in the first 4 or 5 games. But then he goes, catches the long ball for. I think he had 90 yards. I got to remember 90 or 78, and then he had the 3 grabs last week, and then he had the 3 grabs again this week. He's really becoming a nice part of that pass game.
He is, and he's got great hands. He's a tremendous receiver out of the backfield. He's a complete back. He'll pick up blitzes. He'll run the football, obviously, very effectively, and he can catch the ball. And much like Devontae Booker. Now nobody has the hands that Devontae Booker had. He had the best hands on the, maybe in the history of Utah football, any position, but Zach is very capable of catching the football, and that'll help him at the next level.
Yeah, he can do it all, Zach Moss. So he'll be our Team Player of the Week, brought to us by our friends at University of Utah Healthcare and Sports Medicine. 16 convenient neighborhood health centers and a game plan for your family's health. Visit them online at uofuhealth.org. Speaking of health, you addressed this a little bit yesterday in your press conference, but tell us where Bamidele Olaseni is and how close Bam's getting to being game ready.
We think he's ready now. It's just now a matter of the strategy of it all, because we only have 4 games to deal with, and of course we've got 4 regular season games left, and hopefully some ball beyond that. And so we're trying to determine the best usage of Bam and the best way to plug him in. Now, it could take care of itself itself, if we have guys get banged up. But right now, that's pretty much a daily discussion in the staff room of how we're going to go ahead and try to maximize him.
And you told me too, you don't want to just stick him in for a series or two. If you're going to use one of those games, you want him to be a big part of that offensive line.
Exactly. He's too much of a talent just to use 10 or 12 snaps in a game. We want to get him a full workload, and so we'll see. I don't have a good answer for you right now. I wish we did, but my guess is it'll sort itself out and things will be okay.
All right, so keep your eyes open for number 73, I believe.
Is that what he is? Just look at the biggest guy out there.
Yeah, the big number 73 will be the guy to keep an eye on. Quick thought or two on the Huskies. They've kind of been an arch nemesis of yours the last couple of years. When you put on the tape and watch them this year, what stands out about this group of Washington football?
Typical Washington Husky talent. I mean, they've got very good players across the board. Big, strong quarterback, 6'6", 220, 30 pounds, and has an arm that can make all the throws. Really deep at running back. They got 3 guys that are really talented. The usual cast of receivers that they have that are efficient and big play guys. Offense and defensive lines are solid. A lot of new faces on the defense. They had that terrific defense last year, but a lot of talent graduated, so they're breaking in some new guys. But they've beat some really good teams, and they've dropped a couple that were surprising. Most
people would say Chris Peterson, Kyle Whittingham, 2 best coaches in the Pac-12 conference. You've coached against him back to his days at Boise State. What kind of relationship do you have? Are you friendly with Chris? Do you know him very well?
I got a lot of respect for him. I think he's a great guy, and I think we have some things in common, and we seem to get along well when we're at the meetings and so forth. And I've never gone on vacation with him or anything like that, but he'd probably be a good guy to go on vacation with, with our wives. But I got a lot of the ultimate respect for what he does, and what he did at Boise and what he's doing now. He's such a CEO type of a head coach. I mean, he's got his everything, all the details, all the there's nothing left to chance. I mean, he's just got, apparently, I've never worked with him obviously, but it appears that he's just got everything in order.
And you say he's the king of specials, trick plays, specials.
In my opinion,
and especially coming off a bye week, he may have a few more up his sleeve, right?
I don't know if we've never faced anyone that has a better array or execution of those specials.
Before we go to break, our first interview up tonight is going to be a guy that hasn't been in your program a very long time. He just joined you this summer. He's a graduate transfer from SMU, and he's part of the tight end room for you. That's Hunter Thetford.
Hunter is a great addition to our team. Big, strong kid, 6'5", 6'7", about 260 pounds, and really played well this last game. That was probably his best game as a Ute. Really was physical in the block game, blocking his assignments, and has exceptionally good hands. You wouldn't know it because he looks like a small offensive lineman. But he is very agile and has very soft hands.
So we'll talk to Hunter Thetford coming up next here on the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show. Just a reminder, noon for the pregame show and a 2 o'clock kickoff coming up this weekend. Also, every touchdown we call today, tomorrow, all season long is going to be a Code Red touchdown, brought to you by our friends at Pepsi. Grab some Pepsi and get in the game. Pepsi's a proud partner of Utah Athletics. Quick break. Back on the other side with our first player interview of the night, right here from Learfield, IMG College. What's up, Solo? Hey, Guy, you take some food, you got to come on the radio. All right, welcome back into the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show tonight, presented by Smith's. First of our two player interviews tonight. One of the newest members of the Utah football team this year. He didn't start his career at Utah, but he's finishing his career at Utah. SMU grad transfer, Hunter Thetford. How are you?
Doing great, doing great.
Welcome to the program, I guess. And before we talk about the year and what's going on right now, how do you get from, Highland Park, Dallas, Texas, where you're playing for SMU, the Mustangs, to Salt Lake City? How's that all happen?
It was a long story. We
got time. Go ahead.
Well, honestly, I just wanted to come to a bigger school. I wanted to really have a good college experience, and Utah's a great program, and it's one that really uses tight ends, a big tight end like me. And so, honestly, it was one of those things. It was a no-brainer. Once I got here, fell in love with the coaches. The players really made me feel at home.
Was there a connection? Because sometimes there's a connection, family member, friend, something like that. How do you connect with Utah?
No, there was no real connection. They just kind of found me. They're always looking for players that they need. And Coach Freddie, he and then their staff, they hollered at me and talked to them, and so there was really no family connection or anything like that.
Did you know much about the program? Were you a college football fan? Did you follow or know much about Utah's program?
Not initially, but a lot of research. I did a lot of research, and then Coach Ludd came from Vanderbilt, and I'd always followed him, and I loved his offense, and it really fit me. So it was everything kind of happened perfectly.
And it was a good place for you. You figured to finish up your college football career.
Absolutely.
So tell us where Comanche, Texas is.
I don't know if I'm that good at directions.
Is it near Dallas? Is it near Houston? Is it near San Antonio?
It is in the middle of nowhere.
Really?
Yeah. We are very central Texas, probably about 2.5 hours from Dallas. It's in the sticks. You can't find it.
Okay.
You can't find it on a map.
So you need GPS to find Comanche, Texas.
Yes. You got to have a good GPS to find it.
So I did a little diving into your bio, and it said something about you playing a little six-man football early in high school. Now, I'm going to tell you, my first job out of college in Hastings, Nebraska, I called 8-man football.
Yeah.
I never called 6-man football, so I can only imagine. But explain to our listeners and the Utah fans exactly what 6-man football looks like.
6-man football, it looks like a game of touch or tag out there. Everybody's running. The field is actually condensed. It's a 40 by 80 field, so it's a smaller field. But it's interesting. Once you get a snap from the quarterback, you can't run it. So that's one of the special rules about it. But it is it's not really built for people like me, to be honest.
So what were you playing when you were playing?
I was actually a receiver.
Were you really?
I was a receiver.
Okay.
I was a receiver and a nose guard. So that was a pretty good switch off. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of memories made. But we actually we didn't even have enough to make a team. We actually played with 5 players, which that's a real thing. So it was most of the teams had 6 or 7, and we had 5. So we'd always play with 5.
Generally, 6-man, 8-man football is in towns of not the thousands but the hundreds.
Yeah.
And usually, like he said, there's about a couple of dozen boys in the high school, and that's about it. And you find what you can find. So you didn't finish your high school playing 6-man or 8-man. You finished it up playing regular football, and then you end up at SMU. So you're also played a little hoops.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I understand you're a golfer too.
Yeah, love to golf.
So
love to golf.
What's your handicap? What's your best score?
Shoot mid-80s.
Okay.
Depends how many mulligans I get, honestly, like everybody else.
Depends on how honest you want to be.
Yeah, how honest I want to be. Who's watching depends. It's really.
Well, your head coach, he hated golf for years. And then in the last 4 or 5 years, he started playing just a little bit, and he's become pretty good. So maybe in the spring, when all this wraps up and the sun comes back out again here, maybe you and Coach Witt go hit the links.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to.
All right. There we go. There we go. All right, let's talk a little bit about playing tight end here at Utah. You mentioned Coach Ludd, and he just walked in the room here. He's made tight ends a big part of this offense, and there's a couple of Texas tight ends, including you and Brant Keithy on the roster. Cole Fotheringham, Ali Niamatalolo is also on there as well. You got to grab the other night too. So, what's that tight end room like?
We're close.
Are you?
We're close. We have great chemistry together. We are really close. Really good friendships in there, and that's the thing. And Coach Freddie, he's like a friend in there too. He's sometimes. He acts like a kid sometimes with us. Sometimes we have a lot of fun. Sometimes
it would be hard coming into a new situation like you as a graduate transfer, but The good news is new offensive system, new offensive coach this year, and to be very fair, Cole and Brant were both freshmen a year ago. So it's not like this was an old, been together for years and years tight end room, so that probably made it a little easier for you too.
Absolutely. And it's not just the tight end room. It was a whole football team. They really welcomed me with open arms, and I can't say enough, about the culture of how they behave themselves, and just everybody has a program of where it was at. It's so easy to come into a program like that and excel, and that's something that's really stood out to me.
We always hear from recruits and guys that have been in the program, it feels like a family. There's kind
Absolutely.
of a family culture and atmosphere. You played at another place. Did SMU have that same type feel?
They try, but it's harder. Whenever you have a coaching staff that's been here for as long as they have,
Right.
and they're not looking for another job. They are here. They care about Utah football. They care about the city. It's a different feeling. It's like they have a year back, and all the players know that. There's no question that they're going to be here next year, and they're for you, and they are family, and the connections that you have, and it's one of the places that I really look forward to coming back in years to come.
It seems too like a locker room where the players kind of run things because. As you mentioned, Kyle's been here for 15 years, so he has set that standard. And now, I think the best programs are that way, Hunter, where the players know what the expectation is, and they set it immediately. The coaches don't have to do it.
Absolutely, players make programs. Coaches can do as much as they want, but if the players take control, that's when you have something special. And I think that's what we have here.
All right, so what have you got lying ahead this weekend at Washington?
I can't say much. We're gonna do what we do. We're gonna do what we do, and we're gonna do it efficiently.
I'm going to guess that this game Saturday is one of the reasons why you wanted to come play at a program like Utah, because it's a game with a lot on the line, right?
Absolutely. These are the ones that these are the meaningful games. Last game it was a huge game for us, and it was a special game for me because it was the first time I'd really walked out in this stadium, and it was full. It was blacked out. There was lights on everywhere. It was a really special feeling to come out to a home crowd like that. And this week I look forward to a big crowd, and I look forward to a great game.
Well, it's good having you here, and
Yeah,
good to get to
absolutely.
know you just a little bit. Keep enjoying your senior year.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Hunter
having me.
Thetford with us here on the Coaches Show tonight, presented by Smith's. We'll take a timeout. We'll shift from the offensive side of the football to the defensive side of the football and catch up with Josh Nurse right here from Learfield IMG College. And we welcome you back into the Coaches Show tonight from here at the Eccles Football Building and presented by Smith's. We had an offensive player on a moment ago. Now we bring on a defensive player. Third year here, second year as a defensive player. He came in as a wide receiver. Now he's a guy trying to be a lockdown guy on the outside. Josh Nurse with us here. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
It's going well. It's going well. So let's talk a little bit about this. This season's developing nicely, not only for the defense, but for you individually. Do you feel like you're kind of beginning to come into your own right now?
Yeah, I feel like I'm starting to, kind of get in my own element, really kind of figure myself out at this position.
So what do you like best about what you're doing right now from the defensive back spot? Where do you feel most comfortable in what you're doing?
I really feel more comfortable, just getting in guys' faces. A lot of people understand that, I'm a tall guy, I'm a long-liver guy. So, I'm pretty sure, offensive coordinators tell their receivers, like, hey, this guy, he's going to walk up, he's going to press you, he's going to touch you, he's going to try and touch you all night long. And I feel like that's the best attributes about my game.
So you came into this program as a wide receiver, so you had to face this defense for a little while when you first got here, and you knew they were pretty good.
Right.
Now you're part of this defense, and you guys are really balling out this year. You guys are as dominant as any unit right now in the country. Did you come into the season knowing you guys could be as good as you've been so far?
Yes.
Really?
We truthfully and honestly, I still believe we can get better. We still have a lot of room to get better. We still have a lot of room to elevate our play. To be honest.
So tell me where you feel like you. Let's stay in the secondary.
Okay.
Where do you guys feel on the back end like you can be better?
Sometimes it's kind of difficult because Scally does a pretty good job of just scouting people, understanding what they do. Just as far as as far as production wise, as far as making plays, I feel like we definitely need more takeaways. Last 2 or 3 games, we made a statement. The offense hasn't really been getting anything, but we haven't really been forcing a lot of turnovers. So I feel like that's probably where we can elevate our game.
You've had a couple of shots at some. I think Devin had hit him in the hand and some other things, but that's okay. They're not moving the ball. They're not doing a lot of stuff on you. You're seeing a little more action because they don't seem to want to throw over at number one's way. Is that good for you?
Right.
You go into
Most
a game knowing they're probably going to target you
I
a little more?
I love it. Just send if you can't go that way, just send them all my way. I'll take care of them.
So when you came into the program, you're in as a wide receiver, and you come out of Blinn College. Mm-hmm. Utah's seen some guys from Blinn College here before. There have been a few guys that have come in from Blinn College. So you think you're going to be a pass catcher. And then you go through a season or so, and then I don't know if it was Coach Witt or if it was Coach Scally or Coach Shaw or somebody came to you and said, okay, Josh, you're not a bad receiver, but we think you could be a better corner. What was your initial reaction?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like the thought of playing defense at all. I had my dreams set on being a receiver. So but I kind of sat down. I thought about it. I thought about being an athlete in general. I figured out why not be versatile? Why not be able to do more than just play receiver?
So did you have to learn? What was the toughest part, learning that back pedal? Because I'm going to guess as a receiver, you've got an idea of how DBs play, but instead of going forward, you're on that back pedal?
I think that would have been the biggest adjustment for me. It was kind of learning how to move backwards, and as well as stop trying to keep myself from thinking as a receiver, just thinking oh, a receiver won't do this or a receiver won't do that. They will do those crazy moves. They will do those crazy releases and stuff like that. And as a defender, you have to be able to guard it no matter what.
So you're in here, and there's always good defensive backs here. Was there somebody that when you first made that move over, you kind of kept your eye on? Maybe it was Jalen. Maybe it was somebody else. Was there somebody you said, okay, I'm going to watch kind of what they do and how they do it? Was there somebody you used as kind of a role model?
Yeah, it was for sure Julian Blackman. I like the way his feet, his fluidity at the position. That kind of really intrigued me, and I kind of wanted to implement my game after his. Just being brand new to the position. I figured he was a good base. To start. Just trying to get better at the position.
So that had to make you really happy when you find out in the spring he's making that move to safety. That's going to open up a little bit of playing time out there on the outside for you and Tariq.
Right. And then another thing I understood, like Julian moving at safety, and then we already had Jalen at corner, and me, developing into a good corner. I feel like that was also, the best move for our secondary, and it actually, turned out to work out for the best. We starting to make a lot of plays with him on the back end, and then, they rarely throwing at Jalen, and then they're coming my way. So it's just kind of like a trio almost.
You got to make a big play on Saturday. Coach Scally called your name off the edge on a corner blitz, and you got to hit the quarterback and force that fumble.
That felt good.
Did
it felt real good. Once I saw the tackle, I saw him kick step. I said he kind of kept his attention on Lecky, and then once I got a full go at it, I just decided to just destroy him.
You know what would feel even better? Falling on that football.
Most definitely.
Yeah. But that hit was
that
nice.
One get away. Yeah.
That hit was really, really nice. So I'll ask you, we've heard this term all year long, unfinished business.
Right.
And I think a lot of that had to do with the way the season finished last year. And one of those teams that kind of got in your way of the unfinished business was Washington. What do you remember about that Pac-12 championship game last year?
That game hurt. To me, it hurt a lot more than the first one did. That one was so close. They did. Washington tried to do so many things, and we just completely stifled them. They had their one little play on defense. They got a touchdown off of it, and to us, it felt like. We just really came up that short because, the game was, of course, 10-3. We feel like, me personally, I feel like they didn't earn that win. I feel like they kind of just got by. That's kind of how I always felt about Washington. Washington has always just skimmed by us. They've never really truly just dominated us or just beaten us.
So what are you expecting on Saturday then?
Full-on brawl. It's going to be a dogfight, and it's going to be early, and we coming to play. We know they're going to come to play hard, but we got to come to play harder.
You get juiced in another stadium when it's full.
Oh
and
yeah,
loud?
to be honest, I like away games more than I like home games.
Really?
I like being in the hostile, territories, and then just completely silencing the crowd and sending them on about their way.
I know what you don't like: cold weather. You warmed up yet?
I'm a little warmed up. I got my hands back now. I can got a little bit of feeling.
Well, go get something to eat. Good
Yes,
to
sir.
see you.
Thank you.
Josh Nurse with us here on the Coaches Show tonight. We'll take a break. We'll talk a little bit more about the Huskies with Kyle coming up next, right here from Learfield IMG College. And back into on the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show tonight, presented by Smith's. Low prices and market fresh. They bring you every Coaches Show and our tailgate parties, too, for home games. So before we talk about the Huskies, we just had Josh Nurse up here, who, by the way, has not only become a great corner for you, or a really good corner, but he's become a great interview too.
He is.
He's one of my favorite guys to talk to. So
Yep.
you moved him from wide receiver to corner. What did you see when he was in here? What did you see that said, hey, maybe we got to give this a shot?
Well, first of all, just his athleticism, and that was very apparent. He said he's got good top end speed and he's athletic, and with that wingspan and that length, that's a huge advantage in the secondary. So we actually initially moved him to safety. That was the first move. Yeah. Took a look at him there for a few weeks, then we thought, you know what, hey, let's try him on the edge, and I'll be darned, he just took to it right away, and it's gotten better and better, and he is right now operating as one of the better corners in the Pac-12.
Yeah, he really is. He came off the edge, got that nice hit on the quarterback the other day. His coverage has been terrific too, and he's got to be on point because they're just not throwing Jalen's way right now.
Right. Yeah, he gets a lot of action over there, and between him and Tariq, they kind of split time on that other side. They get a lot of balls thrown their way, and they've held up very well.
I think our listeners would be interested to know. You've done this a lot. You and I joke about it from time to time. But what's the process when you say, okay, is that kind of a, hey, I see it, or maybe Morgan Scally sees it, or somebody, or makes it? Kind of what's the process when you decide to make that move from offense to defense, or vice versa?
Yeah, well, first of all, we talk personnel pretty much every day in staff meetings, and part of the discussion is, anybody out of position. This is particularly in fall camp when we got new guys and we've got guys in spring ball when you have your new guys, and so that's a discussion that we have at the staff room table. And if somebody sees something, I'll listen to it and give them my own 2 cents, and oftentimes, we're on the same page, and so we approach the player and put it to him, say, hey, here's what we see. We think your ceiling might be higher at another position. Are you in, or what's your attitude and what's your take on that? And if they're absolutely dead set against it, we don't do it because it won't work if they're not all in and excited about the opportunity and the challenge. Then it's not going to work. So once they give they say, okay, let's try it, then we do it for just a trial period, however long that period we decide is going to be, and then we'll make a decision after we've got a body of work whether it's going to stick or whether we're going to move him back to where he was.
Well, I would guess too, with your pattern of success of having guys move over and a lot of guys move on to the next level, I would guess maybe it's a little bit easier sell these days because you can say this guy did it and this guy did it, and they had pretty good success.
We have a track record of a long list of players that have had great success, into the NFL type success, and so we've got a lot of the trust from the players. They trust that we have their best interest in mind, and it's like you said, it's an easier sell when they see the track record.
It's funny in the spring and even in the summer when I looked at Josh, I kind of saw a guy, and maybe because they wore the same number, but Brian Allen.
Right.
Another guy very much like that same body style, same length. Brian came in as a wide receiver. You moved him over and ended up having a couple of good years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Exactly,
and so we've had good luck with that, or good results, I should say, with those longer corners. Starting with Sean Smith, way back when, and then we had Keith McGill that played some corner, ultimately moved to safety. But like I said, it's that reach and that length, especially on 9 routes when the quarterback's trying to drop that ball in there. It's hard to do when you got a wingspan of 80-something inches, and you can be beat by a step or two. And if you got the length, you're not beat because you can get up and get the ball.
I think the funniest one of all time to me was Paul Kruger came as a quarterback, then he became a tight end, and then you finally moved into defensive end.
Paul Kruger was a great example of that. Now, to be fair, we had that in mind when we recruited him. We thought that was where he would ultimately end up, so it wasn't like something that just came to us. And then there was Tavo Tupola, who came to us as a 190-pound free safety, put him on the plane to go on a mission. 2 years later, he steps off the plane at 310. He's offensive tackle. And so we didn't see that coming. He just ate himself into that offensive tackle position.
All right, let's go into a little bit of Washington here. Some of the personnel is different. They had Jake Browning for 4 years, and he's now gone. But they've got another Jacob Eason.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit different kind of quarterback than Browning was. Really, really big arm. What stands out when you take a look at Jacob Eason?
Well, first of all, just the big arm. He's able to make every throw. He got a lot of poise in the pocket. Big, strong kid. Moves around well. Doesn't like to necessarily run the football, but he's capable. He's capable of evading the rush and keeping his eyes downfield as he's on the move. And so he's a definite weapon. And like I said, there's no throw he can't make.
Good news is Myles Gaskin's finally gone.
Finally, yeah, that guy was a pain in our side.
I think that's what a lot of people say about Zach Moss with you guys.
Probably right. But when he was the last, in that last round, I thought everyone's crazy. Why are they not taking this guy? And he stuck. He made the team, and he's in the league. And so I had a ton of respect for that young man.
So you've got Ahmed now, who's kind of their home run hitter, and then they've got McGrew, who's kind of their change of pace guy.
Yeah, really fast. And then they got the Newton kid, the young kid, who I think is dynamite.
I don't think he'll play this weekend, but we don't know that for sure yet.
Yeah.
Before we go to break, real quick thought. Jimmy Lake, as one defensive guy and a former DC, and you look at what Jimmy Lake does, he's widely considered right there with your guy Morgan Scalley as probably the two best defensive coordinators in the league. What does he do that's made them so successful?
They're just so sound. They're so well coached and sound, fundamentally and technique-wise as well as schematically, and they're very rarely out of position. They keep things in front of them. They don't give up many big plays, and they're disciplined. They hustle to the football.
All right, let's take our final time out here on the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show. Back with a final thought from Coach ahead. This is Utah Football and the Coaches Show from Learfield IMG College. All right, final segment of the Coaches Show tonight. Kyle and I here at the Eccles Football Building. Saturday, Seattle, Husky Stadium. It's a great venue for football right there on Lake Washington. It'll be the first time, at least for us, as a program to have a day game there.
Right.
We've always been there at night.
Yeah, actually, maybe you can see the lake and see the surroundings. But you're right, that is the first time we've played during the day, and it's a great stadium, great venue.
Yeah, it really
they did a nice job with that.
Yeah, they've done a nice job with their remodel. There'll be a lot of fans. They sell out. They support the program like Utah fans support this program here. And, you know, it's a great venue for college football, and it's a big day for you guys taking on the Washington Huskies. Give me a quick thought on, you know, based on the opponent and what they want to do, what you guys have to get done on Saturday.
Well, if we can continue to execute like we have been on offense and obviously, you know, take care of the football, not put the defense in any bad spots. But I think the real key is for our defense to help the offense out a little bit more and by generating some takeaways and setting them up in some short field situations.
You guys have played them tough. Every game seems to have a different kind of a storyline, and I know the guys are excited to get up there, and I know you are too. And it should be a fun day and an exciting day up at Husky Stadium as you guys take on the Washington Huskies. We'll be on the air with our pregame show, the network pregame show, at about noon Mountain Time. And the kickoff will be at about 2 o'clock Mountain Time on what we think will be, the weather folks have told us, a good day for football up in the Northwest, and could be a big, big day for Utah football coming up on Saturday. So have a good rest of your week of practice.
Okay, Billy. Appreciate you. Thank you.
We appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We had some special guests on hand with us here tonight. We appreciate our friends from esports at the University of Utah and Twitch, AJ and his crew that are out here, and all our friends on the YouTube channel, Smiths, who helped sponsor this thing here tonight, and of course Lauren and Porter and Brady back at the station tonight. Don't forget noontime pregame show and a 2 o'clock kickoff from Husky Stadium coming up on Saturday. Game 6 of the World Series on our flagship radio home, ESPN 700, comes your way next. This has been the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show, presented by Smiths from Learfield, IMG College.